Hey guys, what's going on? So we're back with another video. Today I kind of wanted to talk about scalping and the people complaining about scalping. So I want to try to make this a shorter video, but I have a lot to say. Now, starting off, almost every person that complains about scalping and the prices of cards right now started collecting when Logan Paul came back in the COVID craze. People were pumping a dumb Charizard VMAX to $50 or whatever, $100, whatever it was. And yeah, that era is when 99% of these people that are crying on Reddit every single day about card prices and vintage prices and scalpers all come from that era. So let's take it back a little bit to when there were no scalpers and cards had no value. So for context, I've been collecting since the early EX era heavily and selling cards and trading. Now, let me just show you guys. So back then, sets only had like 2 to 5 hits. I mean, let's just take a look at Mysterious Treasures here. We're talking about 3 EX card or level X cards. Take that, just take a minute and think about that. If you buy one booster box, you could complete the entire set hit-wise. There was no demand for any card. None of these cards had any value. It was not fun to open. There was no point in playing. Like, it was just the most dead time ever. There was no value attached, nothing. Now, there are still collectors, yes, but the same people that come back and are like, oh, I haven't collected since the 90s, what happened to the hobby, blah, blah, blah. They had all this time to collect, and obviously no one did, because, I mean, look at this set list. You have, obviously, I personally like these cards, but in comparison to what we have now today, which I think is a product of the hype and the scalping to meet the demand, I mean, I'd much rather have that than getting a whole case of booster boxes and then pulling the entire set in two. And then to top that off, let's look at how many sets got released. We have, what is this? 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have 7, not counting the promos. We had 7 sets for an entire generation. 7 sets with only about 3 to 5, around there hits, and that's it. That's all we got for Diamond and Pearl. And then we get Platinum, we only get 4 sets. I mean, look at this. The hobby, if this doesn't indicate that the hobby was dead, I don't know what does. There was no scalpers, there was no price on cards. If you go back to Primetime Pokemon's videos, I suggest everybody does this. Go back to his videos from 10 years ago, even 2015, before the Pokemon Go hype. You could buy Neo Boost. He puts the prices of what he bought. And I personally, from experience, when I was buying, you could buy like in 2015 during the early XY era, 2014, and then all throughout Black and White, you could buy vintage for MSRP or lower or just slightly above. In 2014, I remember you could buy a Neo Discovery or Neo Booster Box, any from the set, for like $200. I mean, just think about that now. That just shows you how little demand there was and how boring the hobby was without people pumping cards and like all these YouTuber hype. Now, the people that always complain on Reddit saying, oh, I hope this set fails, I hope everybody has access to all these cards. Well, obviously the hobby is a lot different now, but if you go back and look at the old days, the EX era, the Diamond Pearl, we did have access to every single card, and it was the most boring thing ever. You would go trade with your friends, they'd all have the same cards. You go to the store, super excited to buy some cards, and you'd see the same sets sitting there. You'd see EX packs shoved into Diamond and Pearl, kind of like how we had Steam Siege, shoved into packs for God knows how long. Like a decade, there's still Steam Siege that's popping up. I mean, that's what happens when you overprint. If there's no value attached to the cards, then little demand comes out from the cards, because the same people that complain about the value are the ones that came back during COVID looking for their base set Charizards and their WotC binders and then posting them because they knew they had value. They got excited to collect again. There was no value for so long that nobody cared. Nobody cared to open their binders. Nobody cared to buy cards. If you say you want people to have access to every card, you had an entire decade and a half to be in the hobby getting every single card you wanted. but you waited until value came back to it. So I think it's ironic that people only came back when value was attached, because it's not like Pokemon stopped. It's just none of you guys collected. And I'm generalizing, obviously, but that's just how it was. Um, I think that scalping can be annoying, and I think people should have access to cards, but I also think there should still be a chase, and I don't mind if I have to look a little harder for cards. And I also think people complaining about Japanese cards are idiots. Japan is a smaller country. They're not the US. You're not a Japanese citizen. You are not entitled to any of their products. I see so many people in the US and Canada and Europe complaining that they can't get Japanese sets, but surprise, surprise, Japan's not printing for you. They're trying to print for their own citizens, and everyone else is stealing their cards. Imagine if Japan was buying all the US cards, you'd be complaining as well. So I think this whole debate about, oh, waifu cards are expensive, this card I think it's just all dumb. I don't think there's any point in complaining. There's nothing you can do about it. It is what it is. The hobby is at an all-time high. It's the best it's ever been. There's more people to play with and trade with and talk about the hobby with than ever before. There's so much more like depth to the hobby because there's all these crazy price rises. You know, before you'd collect your cards, throw it in a binder, never look at it again. Now you can have a binder and you can check your card's value every single day. It's almost like baseball cards where a card would go up in value if the rookie played well or the player had a good year, things like that. I never collected them, but I've seen how it kind of works. So now you have something actively to check every day, because a lot of times people just collect the art, look at it every once in a while. That's fine. If that's what you like doing, cool. But personally, I hate opening cards and then never looking at them again and not caring about them. So now that there's different value increases and decreases, it gives you something to do within the hobby. So that's all I have to say. I don't want to keep rambling on. Quit complaining. It is what it is. The hobby's great right now. And yeah, that's it.